Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. I've got a great guest for you, Mr. Fred Copestake. Fred is an expert in the sales world, and he is a big proponent of what is called ethical selling. In fact, he wrote a book on this, and we're going to talk about why and what. In other words, why do you want to be an ethical seller? Now, everybody says, well, I am an ethical seller. Well, you might find out you're not as at the definition of what we are going to propose as an ethical seller. So I think you're really going to get a lot out of this. And here's the thing. If you find some aha moments in this, capture them, please. Write them down. And the reason behind that is because when you're playing in the context of what we're going to be discussing, then you're going to have much, much better sales days. You're going to have much happier days. If you're running a company or CEO, you're going to be much, much happier in the process of how you run your company every single day. All right. So before we go to Fred, I wanted to let everybody know we are releasing two things. One, we finally are releasing our follow-up software. In other words, we have a proactive, meaningful, and relevant follow-up software that automates the follow-up process for you and builds relationships on human-to-human connections, meaning the system learns about your human connections and it will actually create content and help you manage the sales follow-up process or the relationship follow-up process, because we all drop the ball without something, because it's just very difficult. You know, if you have hundreds of relationships, it's very difficult to stay in touch with everybody on an individual basis. We have solved that challenge. You'll never drop a sale again. You'll never drop a relationship again. You'll keep your relationships top of mind. If you're interested in that, or you're interested in our upcoming, what we would call a reliable, predictable, mathematical revenue growth process, let us know. We're going to be running that program as well in both of these in 2025 in the first quarter. To get more information on that, just send an email to youmatter, youmatter, at ceosalesstrategies.com. We'll get right back to you. All right, let's go talk to Fred. Hey, Fred, welcome to the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Thanks so much for being here today with me.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. It's nice to be invited, Doug.
So those of you who wonder, and I consider Fred my UK relative. So he and I have talked on several occasions, and I very much enjoyed talking with him. We're going to talk today about ethical selling, which is I would say one of mine, and based on what I know about you, one of your favorite topics too, how to sell ethically.
It is. I mean, currently, it certainly is, because I've just launched a book on it. So it's had quite a lot of attention over the last, few months, and well, we'll continue to do so as well.
Yeah, I would suspect you didn't write a book on it because you were just bored one day and you figured, well, I think I'll write this long, arduous book.
I'm going to find something I hate, that I don't agree with, to make my life really miserable for a couple of months. No, it's it's something that's pretty close to heart, and something I think it's really important that we shine the light on it now. So yeah, that's why I've done that.
So what is ethical selling? You and I know because we've talked, but let's tell everybody else. What do we consider ethical selling?
I mean, there's a ton of different definitions we could take, but there's something that I've been saying for a long time. I've used this for a few years now, where I talk about being all about good people doing good things in a good way, which you could just take as having competent salespeople who are achieving the results because they follow a process, and that would be that. However, if we say that good people are inherently decent folk who do things which have an impact on the customer, on the company, on themselves, on society, because the way they go about it, it's full of integrity, that's where kind of that phrase goes, and that's closer to what I would say that ethical selling is all about.
Right. And we're talking a positive impact, right? We're not talking just any old impact, or am I incorrect?
Yeah, no, positive impact. It's something that we would generally deem to be something that's a good thing to happen, rather than like, a massive impact there. Yeah, but it's not really what's done the world any good, is it? No, we're looking for a positive impact.
That makes sense. to have a massive impact. Oh, I just got a huge commission, but I just sold somebody something they didn't need. That's not ethical selling.
It's not. And another quick way that I talk about it to help people sort of get it fast is that we can actually achieve win-win-win.
Yep.
Now we've talked about win-win a load in sales, haven't we? Mutual benefit, customer benefits, company benefits. Great. But I've started adding the other win in because we're saying that you should benefit as well, or like your conscience. So we're going customer, company, conscience. And it was like it's a Venn diagram where those things have got to overlap. And if we're doing that, then that's a great place to be. And it's going to be better for all involved in it.
That makes a ton of sense. It's so actually when you play, I'll call those the three C's, right? The win-win-win we're talking about. More people win than just three, though, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's day is affected. And this is what I want people who are selling, whether you're, an independent seller, selling for a company, a coach, a business consultant, or you name it, a founder-led sales, or just run a sales team. When we help people truly achieve resolving a problem, gaining an opportunity that they want, they value, and we get compensated for that, and we do this in an ethical way, like you said, it resonates with all three C's. It's not just the company and the person and the conscience that gets impacted. But to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Fred, this translates into how someone else treats someone else in a day. Whether or not somebody is a little more, happy and a little more patient with somebody, or somebody's not as stressed when they go home and their family life's a little bit better. I mean, this it could be, hey, I opened the door for a little old lady where I wouldn't have that day, in New York City when trying to get a cab, you know.
Yeah,
um
yeah, totally. Because, we can look ourselves in the mirror. We can look ourselves in the mirror, in the morning and say, right, I'm off to do some stuff. And what I'm going to do today, I like doing, I enjoy doing, it's going to have this positive impact on all these people. You go back at the end of the day, you brush your teeth before you go to bed, thinking, that's a good day, that. I actually did some decent stuff rather than, well, I did that and that was a bit dodgy, or I probably shouldn't have done that. Well, I'm a bit uncomfortable with this, and that isn't quite right for that person. But yeah, you're right. The overall effect that has and how that kind of compounds and passes on around. It's just a far better place to be, isn't it?
yeah, I remember I was selling. I had a business and I was selling, and I was always coming at it from a win-win, but it wasn't really a win for me, right? I was winning for the other people that I was selling to, and I justified it for about 2 years. And I was like, ah. And I got to the end of the 2 years, and I was making a multi six-figure income from the business, and I could see the business was going to double that year. And I quit. I just was like, I couldn't take it anymore. And a friend of mine said to me, if you could adjust this business so that you didn't have to be in the position you're in and doing what you're doing, you know, would you keep it going? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that because it's taking so much out of me every single day. And so imagine you just get it to a seven-figure level and you shut it down. You're like, I'm done, right? I think that the reason I brought that story up is because if we're not selling ethically, then what happens is that third C, the conscience part you're talking about, it gets to a point of such pain that people are not as effective or efficient anyways. And what would you say
No,
to
I
that?
agree. It eats away at you. And I think, well, when we were chatting last, I sort of said that at one stage I was doing a lot of work, and you'd look at it and go, this is brilliant, Fred. You're flying all around the world, you're doing all this really cool stuff, interesting companies.
Right.
But I didn't like it. I didn't realize I didn't like it until it kind of caught up with me so much that it sort of hit me in the face like a wet kick, like bang, going, why are you doing this? What is going on? You're not being true to yourself. And that's when I sort of took a step back and started considering all this stuff. How we sell, are we working collaboratively? Are we kind of doing stuff that is most up to date? But really, are we doing the stuff that's aligned to our values, aligned to the way in which we want to be doing stuff? And if we consider that, most people are inherently decent and want to align themselves to doing good stuff, we're crazy when we fight against it, or set systems up, or have ways of working which just aren't conducive to do that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Fred, when we were kids, when we were growing up, I mean, I don't ever remember a time. I'm sure there's one or two where I woke up and go, I want to have a really bad day today. I want to have a terrible feeling by the end of today. I don't remember I ever had that. Um, so what we're talking about is a manifestation of what we do naturally anyways. When we were children, we just carried, if we could stay in that zone, in that lane, then we're going to want to sell ethically anyways. That's what I'm hearing. So does it all come back to the why? Like you mentioned, why?
It does. I mean, that's when you start to look at the solution, it does come back to that, and it starts to aligning. But people get in their own way. And the reasons, and what I do in the books, I go through like 10 different reasons why people wouldn't do this, and then call them out as BS because they're just wrong. But
Yep.
you can summarize them in two. It's what I call the Goldilocks dilemma. You remember Goldilocks, the three bears, and she
The three
goes in and
bears.
she's
Yep.
eating the porridge. Yeah, too hot, too cold, just right. And so it can be just right. Too hot translates as too hard. Oh, it's too hard to do this. It's too difficult. Or it's going to be too expensive. Oh, we're going to have new processors. Oh, training, change. We're going to have to change. And we know how people don't like change. Or, oh, it's too soft. Oh, I'm gonna have to become passive. I'm gonna have to be unassertive. I'm gonna be a pushover. I'm transparent, and people are gonna like take the mickey, and I'm gonna lose all my margins and everything. I'm not gonna make any profit. And so these kind of false objections, if you want to call them that, things
Mm-hmm.
come up, which we can blast out the water and say, look, we don't need to do that because most people are already there. This isn't something you're trying to convert somebody who's totally unethical into doing. I mean, look, I wouldn't bother doing that. It's like a gun amnesty. Hey, gangsters, hand in your guns. No. Why? We want to use them for bad stuff. We're not doing that. It's, look, you're on the right track. Let's be really aware of what these things that you can do are. Some of it's very tactical. We have to processes, procedures, things, tools, techniques you can use. But when you do go back to your why and you can actually just make sure you're aligned with it, you'll have a greater impetus behind it.
We're speaking with Mr. Fred Copestake. Company's name is Brindis, Brindis. You can reach Fred at Fred Copestake. That's COPESTAKE.com. Fred, here's I've been writing down notes because I mean you and I have talked on this subject over the time, and I actually think that this is like so important for people who are selling because if you're not selling ethically, this is my feeling on this. If one's not selling ethically, then one's going to be experiencing negative stuff in their sales day. In other words, frustration, burnout, fear, right? I mean, if I'm selling in congruency with who I am and I'm helping the company and I'm helping the client, and that's my mission driven process on a daily basis. As long as I have the right prospecting going on to the right client, the right potential buyer, as I talk about massive prospecting always outsells the master closer, right? As long as I have those things in line, what I'm hearing is I'm building a sales career for the long haul, and I'm actually going to enjoy it far more than I would if I wasn't playing in the ethical selling game. Is
Well,
this,
there you
yeah,
go. You've probably hit two or three of the of the myths of why you shouldn't do it, plus the answers to it. Yeah,
okay.
one of the myths is that, oh, I might not make as many sales. I might lose business. No, if you're looking longer term, because you're doing the right thing and people will want to carry on working with you and you'll get the right reputation and kind of what goes around comes around, then you'll end up making more money.
Hmm.
Even you said prospecting again, that's one of the tactics I talk about. It's that, why are you trying to go in and sell something to somebody that they don't need or want? Well, not a very good idea, let alone ethical. So again, if you're picking the right people to go in with the right message, to qualify to say, yes, we absolutely should be working together and then co-create, collaborate, again, it's the right thing to do. So, when we talk about selling ethically, it's not this goody two shoes, don't drink, don't smoke, what you do type thing. It's just doing the stuff that actually bloody works anyway. It's best
Mm,
practice. So
yeah.
it's, yeah, it just makes sense.
So it's long-term thought with short-term gain, which means we're going to be in a much better state at the end of the day, right? So
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example why I'm saying this, Fred, because I teach people who are selling, keep a running log, right? And at the end of the day, ask yourself this question on your sales day or your sales life. 0 out of 10. 0 was terrible. 10 was amazing, right? How was your day? Right. And so you take a number down and it's like, okay, what made it that? What made it a 7 today? Great. What would make it a 10?
Yeah.
And if you if you track this over time, we'll see the patterns, right? And and it always comes down to I haven't been truthful to myself, or I've been incongruent with who I am as a person, and I did this and I didn't want to, or I did that and I didn't want to. So that's the definition of unethical selling based on our definition of ethical selling. So if we, I mean, Fred, should we look at this like as if we're going to go each client and we're going to marry them? Let's say we're going to literally get into a marriage of financial, and long-term proportions. We probably want to enter that relationship in an ethical way. So why wouldn't we do that with every single client? Can we look at it that way, or is that too
Yeah.
far, like woo woo out?
No,
And
I know this kind of the whole courtship, marriage, and something. It's an off-trodden path when we're talking about selling, but that's because it makes sense. We most people I talk to are in it for the long run. There's not many people doing a kind of smash and grab.
right,
It's like, no, we want to work on an ongoing basis. And so you would look and say, is there a future there? Is there stuff that we can work together on? And by working together on this, the relationship is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Or are you looking at it going, oh, I'm going to marry that person? Why? Because they're rich.
right.
Nice big house and a boat and a villa abroad. Do you like them? No. But that's going to be a pretty miserable existence. You might be in the big house. You might be playing on the boat. You might be going to the villa abroad. If you don't like the person you're doing it with, really? Do you want a lifetime doing that?
Well, I
I
mean,
think it's fair enough
from a
analogy
business
to make.
from a business perspective, we're talking about if we sell this way, we're going to get more repeat business from that client without question. And that client's going to open up referrals a lot easier to us than if we were not selling this way.
Yeah.
Because they're trusting us. And when people are passing on a referral, they are literally passing on their reputation of trust, introducing us into a new relationship. And what better to do that with that somebody you completely trust because they've been transparent, ethically transparent through the whole process, or as you would say over in England, process, right? So
Yeah.
through the whole process. And so, this makes tons of sense. Why don't people just do this? Like, I mean, it's common sense, really, when it comes down to it.
Goldilocks dilemma. Too hot, too cold. It's too hard, it's too soft. And it's not understanding. It's not understanding it that, this word can sound a bit frightening because of those things that I've said. It could also be that one of the reasons that I did go into writing the book is that a lot of the stuff I've seen around ethical selling tends to talk about the principles and the values and the codes and the conduct, and it kind of goes up off into the stratosphere around these things, which people can say, well, yeah, okay, I agree with that. I get it. Be good. It doesn't then tell you how to. So I went the opposite way. I spent less time on that. Said, look, here's the seller code. A couple of guys, Marcus Kauke, Patrick Bukakis, have worked on this. That's decent. Let's use that. Now let's go into the tactics of what empathetic communication looks like. Let's talk about value creation looks like. Let's talk about collaborative relationship building. Let's talk about these things which you can actually do day to day. And which, when you read the book, I want people to read it and go, I'm doing that anyway, Fred. Awesome. Good. Just be really deliberate and really conscious and do more of it because that's the stuff that works. I'd be happy if someone's using it and ticking off, I'm doing that, doing that, doing that. Oh, that's a bit different. Okay, well, I could add a bit of that. I'll be very happy with that because it's
But
only modeled on what works.
yeah, and so what's the name of the book? Just so we can plug
Ethical
it.
selling.
Ethical Selling by Mr.
Yeah, Doug, you met me. I'm a simple person. The book's called Ethical Selling. The model within it has got the acronym ETHICAL.
Okay.
I don't want an excuse to be, it was too difficult to get my head around. No, 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 that's not an option. It's like you're doing this stuff already. Catch yourself doing the right things. Tweak some of the stuff to do slightly better. And if there is something that's brand new, okay, invest a bit of time and effort to learning it and get on and do it because it's what customers want. At the end of the day, come back to it's what customers want.
Let's go down that path because I think that now more than ever, they always wanted it. People always wanted exactly this. But now, where the shift has happened post-pandemic selling, so to speak, it's funny, Fred, back in the late 80s when DSL came in, some of you are probably too young to even know what I'm talking about right now, but we had this thing called dial-up internet, and then we got high-speed access, it was called ISDN, and then it went to DSL, digital subscriber.
I
And
was going
that
to make
was
this noise.
like,
I was going to give you the sound effect for the connection being
yeah,
made, but people just think we've lost the plot.
it was crazy sound. But DSL was our first really widespread high-speed access. And like we were like, oh my gosh, we got 512 megabyte. Oh my goodness. We were so happy, you know. Now it's like I got 120 gig, so but it's like, what do you mean I only got 500 megabyte? That crawls, but back then we were happy to have that. But I remember I could go online and look at stuff and I could see and I'd say, wow, I can actually see some information about this or information about that. So I was going to my teammates at the company I worked at and I go, this is going to change sales forever. And people are like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, 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 think about it. They can find out about what we do and they won't have that dependence on us as much as they do now as the sales expert channel.
Yeah.
Okay. Fast forward from the late 80s to the early 90s up here to 2024. Now they know more about us coming in than we probably know about them if they've done their research, and they can do it in 10 minutes, you know? So before it used to be kind of interruption-based selling or interruption-based marketing. Now it's just pretty much the majority is permission-based. So if it's permission-based, they're inviting us in, we get in somehow, we wow them and we, get them to the next level of accepting an appointment, whether it's virtual or in person. We can't come in unethically anymore. I mean, it's like we're basically, we might as well just take ourselves and throw ourselves out the office door if we're going to come in and be an unethical person, because there's so many people that they have access to today.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, totally. I mean, I kind of looked at it in two ways. So from the ethics point of view, there's one way you can see it, which is the compliance. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure you probably filled in, I don't know how many pages of a form asking about slavery policies and environment and carbon footprint and decarbonisation plans for your business and all of this kind of stuff, which is, it's an indication of people wanting kind of more ethical people to deal with.
right.
The other one is just, I'm not sure language we can use on this, but people just don't want to work with dicks. And if you're going to go in and be an idiot and not bring any value to the table, and then that includes being a walking website. However fast you are, but if all you are is a website with information that's like, you've not told me anything, you've not done anything to have
Right.
made it interesting for me to talk to you. Whereas I think we can interrupt, actually. I think we probably should. And in some ways, it'd be unethical not to, but if we're interrupting in a way which is interesting to the customer. In other words, yes, there's a ton of information out there, but we're all still living in a VUCA world. There's
Right.
still a ton of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, what I've done is add a little bit of look at VUCA from your side, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, and sort of try to make sense of it. I think here are some things which could be interesting for you. Let's shine a light on these and see if we're right. Bang. And that's by bringing vision, understanding, clarity, and agility. So that's VUCA contra VUCA. Now we can get an interesting conversation going because that stuff's not on the website. That's humans getting their heads together to think, okay, oh, brilliant. Yeah, no, we can look at this. We can co-create. We can collaborate. We can do decent stuff around that. That's where
So
the action's at.
yeah, and I
So if
100%
you
agree
can
with
make a
this.
difference, it's unethical not to. If you're just doing the same thing, well, that's just stupid. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we used to talk about moral obligation in the old days. You know, do you believe so
Mm-hmm.
strongly in what you do that somebody's got to have it? But what I'm hearing is moral obligation with ethical selling, right? Not that they only have to have it, should they have it? And are you the right person to
Yeah,
actually be able to make that happen for them so it's a win-win-win? And that's how I've always sold,
yeah,
right? So, and I agree that you should do interruption marketing, but to get to permission based,
yeah.
right? And that's the key. I want to give an example, Fred. This just happened to me this week. This week it happened to me during the beginning of the week. So I got an email interruption, right? And said, you know what? I know who this company is, so I'm gonna go take a look. I think I'm gonna try to get a couple of keynote speeches at this company. They do what they call expos around here, right? So they get a bunch of people to come in, business people. And I'm like, I'll try to get a couple keynotes. I knew I was going to have to pay for them. So I got a hold of the person and I said, hey, I'm interested in these two cities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he said to me, well, they're 18,000 US dollars a piece. And I'm like, okay, a couple hundred people in the audience. Okay. And he's giving me all these lines of features, right? And I said, well, look, I got to talk to my marketing department. And because I want to make sure it's coordinated with marketing so that, we're not already booked for those dates. I said, I'll get back to you. He emailed me like right away, called me right away. And I'm like, okay, the chase is on. You know what I mean? Like because he said to me, Fred, before we hung up, he said, Doug, if you could do it by by the end of the month, right? Which would have been last Thursday because it was 31st. He said, if you can do it by the end of the month, we'll throw in an extra, workshop for you for free. And I said, I just don't think I can get it there. So he's pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. So rapport is starting to drop right there. So he calls me on that Thursday and he says this, what did you decide? I said, I told you I can't do this in this time frame, right? And and I said, look, here's what's going to happen. Now, Fred, I had found out, like, you and I were talking before this. I found out that week I was going to go get an operation, right? So I said, look, I got to have an operation next week. Why don't we touch base the following week after? So that's the second week in November. And I said, why don't you just, I'm interested in this. If they sell out, I'll take 3 or 4 workshops anyways. Those are like 3,500 a piece. So I was going to spend something with this company. And here's what he said to me, Fred. Doug, we should have done this by the end of the month. And by the way, and so, why don't we just do this? You get back to me when you're ready. And I said, okay. And my wife was sitting in the vehicle next to me and she looked at me like shaking her head, no. And I'm like, no. So because he's not playing win, 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 as you're talking about, they just lost at least $36,000 in sales, right? Maybe 40,000 by the time I was done adding a couple of workshops. Now, if we think about this from a sales perspective, let's say he's getting 20% commission. That's 8,000 US dollars. If he's doing that once a month, he's losing $96,000 in commissions. I don't call that ethical selling. So I'd like you to kind of like take that and say, Doug, no, it wasn't ethical selling.
It, what he said, his line, you make the decision when you're ready. Yeah, big tick in the box for that. Informed decision making. That's the I of ethical model. Yeah. Buyer safety, big part of that. So look, you have got to be comfortable. That's my prime concern, giving you that psychological safety that you can make the decision. It's your free choice. I'm not going to do anything weird to try to manipulate that.
Yeah.
So that would have been brilliant. It was just the behavior before. oh, end of the month, and we've got this thing, and I can give you this discount, and putting in all those that false FOMO and everything like that. It just wasn't smart because after that, when you went, we'll just know because actually totally external factor that we've none of us got any control over.
Right.
Yeah, he's then gone into this, but it's like, well, that's too late, mate. You've blown it on the trust front because you've suddenly taken that thing away. The smarter thing would have been to say, well, look, you make the decision when you want, but let's just be aware that you're talking about this date to do the talk.
Right.
So you'll want to have your marketing in place by then, which then means we'll have to got this done then. So really the decision date is then.
Right.
That's not me making it up. It just is. And really, I mean, maybe your marketing department need a bit longer. Not met them, and you'll think, oh no, yeah, I definitely need to give them more time. I've always put them under pressure. There we go. We've got a natural timeline there, which they've just helped you work out. So, well, okay, there you go then. So, look, that's the date.
Here's the
Your call, sort of thing. That would have been the smarter, ethical, and just more elegant. I mean, think about ethical. It's just about elegant selling
right.
way of doing that. But
And,
they
and
sort of the tricks and the things and all that stuff we're taught, false FOMO and it leaves a nasty taste. And people sense it, they pick up on it. We're not stupid. So just don't do it and you'll be in a better position.
here's the crazy part. I actually wanted to do business with this company because I did some research on them. Now, if he had said to me, Fred, and this is why I mean, listen, folks, you're talking to guys who are very skilled in selling. So I want to give you this information. If this gentleman had just said, well, Doug, no challenge whatsoever as far as, you know, I'll pencil these dates in for you. But here, you just said to me, you're going to do some workshops anyways. Why don't we grab a deposit and I'll pencil these dates in? And then if you can't make the dates, I'll release the dates and we're going to do a workshop or two or three or four anyways. So you already have a deposit on those, something there, and we can just flip it over to a workshop. If he had said that, I would have definitely given him a credit card at that time. And to me, that would have been the ethical thing because he's playing win-win at that point, right? His company wins, I win. Well, he wins, and maybe his conscience would have won too at that point, right? So I think the reason that I feel that this is such an important topic, and I'm so glad you wrote a book on it that has all of these tactics broken down in the book so that people can read the book and, like you said, say, well, I'm doing this, I'm not doing this. Oh, geez, okay, I should be doing this. And they can get because what it does is it gives us an edge in selling, not to just be different, but to differentiate ourselves amongst our competitors. And because most people are taught, like you said, Fred, by some training company of, this methodology, and it's a top-down selling methodology, and they come in top selling. Well, people don't want that. In most cases, people don't want that. So I think what you're talking about is we're talking about a methodology actually to sell. But it's not the 7-stage process of, the sale. It's let's have a communication with somebody and be transparently, truthful to them and to ourselves. And that's a methodology in itself. And I ask everybody to embrace that anyways. So Fred, how do people know more about you? How do they get the book?
Well, LinkedIn is a good one. I'm on there. Probably too much. So Fred Copestake, yeah. No one else has got that name. So actually, well, every social media platform I've got my own name, which is a result. But no, LinkedIn is the one I'm on the most, where I do tend to post pretty much every day, different sorts of posts to try and achieve different sorts of things. But definitely once a week there'll be, I hope, something educational for people who care about this stuff. I'm sure some people look at it and think that's just ridiculous, boring, but people are into this will get that. But yeah, no, get me on there. Books on Amazon. So yeah, get yourself across to there and give it a little click. I'll buy two because it'd be a really ethical thing to give on to someone else, wouldn't it?
Well,
I'm allowed to say that. Was that totally an ethical piece of promotion?
actually, I think, look, if you buy the book and you like the book, what a gift, right? So I'm not here plugging books for Fred. What I'm trying to say is think about this from a sales perspective. If you have somebody that buys into this philosophy and you know that, and you took 2 books and you said, or 3 books, and you said, hey, Mr. Ms. CEO, I got these books. I got one for, for your company, and why don't you have, if you want, distributed 2 of these to your sales team, right? If you did something like that, that is very different than other methodology that people would use coming in. I've done this a lot. I've taken books that I really, really like, and I do the same thing. I go, I get 2 copies, and I go to the owner and I say, hey, I bought 2 copies. I thought you might like this one. And if you like this one, please distribute this. This is by a really good author. Right. And they're like, who are you, kid? Right. So it's so different that people and they engage with it because it's a gift, and we all like gifts. I mean, it's not like I'm giving them, the book War and Peace that, it's got
Tolstoy.
yeah,
Complete works of Shakespeare. Wow, cheers,
exactly.
mate. At least you keep the door open.
Spend your 3 weeks on vacation reading these books. No, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is giving somebody, especially if something that can give somebody an edge in their market today. So, anyways, Fred,
Maybe actually, you just given me an idea here. Maybe there's an angle where you buy a copy and you give it to your customer, and you say, "Hey, Mr. Mrs. Customer, this is what I aspire to work to. You're going to be the best judge of this. Can you help me on this road and tell me whether I am working in this way and what I could do better on it?"
now you're developing a relationship.
Oh my word. You're gonna be, well, you're gonna be my judge anyway. You're my
That's
customer. So
right.
actually, let me show you the guidebook that I'm working to. And also,
That's
I'm a guy that says that companies should invite customers on sales training anyway, and that if you don't, why not? What you're hiding, or are you just not doing any sales training? It could be that.
well
So
that
look, you just give me a marketing strategy there. You're a genius, Doug. You just
well,
invented a marketing strategy for me.
there you go, Fred. Well, that's
That's how fast this guy works, folks.
Well, Fred, I want to thank you for being on the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. Thanks so much. Folks, we'll put all the notes and all the links in the show notes below. Fred, any last parting words besides you can send me a check for that marketing idea? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna have to quantify it first, but no, just to say thanks again. Look, it's always a pleasure to chat to you. It's great we've got something recorded, and hopefully, if people liked it, they'll let us know.
All right, are you selling ethically or are you not? Right? I know that's a question in your face, but the reality is, how are you selling? Are you using ethical practices? Are you approaching the day as a win-win-win-win scenario? Or are you just trying to hit quota? You're just trying to sell something. How are you, communicating with your people? Because here's the thing, when you're selling in an ethical manner, you will get more repeat business, you will get more new clients in the form of referrals. You'll be able to cross-sell. You'll be able to upsell. You'll even be able to downsell. Because when you have a relationship that's built on trust, that's built on respect, right? That's built on we all do this for our friends, right? They call us with something, go, oh man, I have a challenge with this. And it's like, I'll be right over. Those people that you're really connected to. When you're selling ethically, as defined by what we talked about today, you will have those relationships in your business as well. All right. So how are you selling? Ethically or not? You can always just take the tactical list that Fred was talking about, and you can fill in what's missing. And again, you'll have much happier days, much easier conversations. You'll know when to disengage because it's not right for you. So you're not chasing sales that you shouldn't be chasing, right? And you will follow up, right? Because that is a common courtesy and it's ethical selling. And again, if you want a tool to help you follow up, we have a tool called vibitno.com. So VIBITNO.com that we are releasing in the beginning of 2025. We're also going to roll out a couple of founders groups on this. If you want to be one of the first 10 or first 20 or the first 50 that have the chance to use this, please let us know. Or you're interested in our university, which is teaching you how to predictably sell more. Mathematically, we will run out a whole formula for you on this. Let us know that as well. Reach out to us at YouMatter, YOUMATTER, at ceosalesstrategies.com. Just email us. Let us know what you're looking for, and we will get right back to you. If you love this podcast episode, if you like this show, please give it a review. I know it takes a couple of minutes to do it. I'd be forever grateful that you give it a positive review. All right, that's it. Go out and sell something. Play win, 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 win. Play ethical selling. Make somebody happy. Make yourself happy. Make other people happy. Help them solve problems. Help them discover opportunities. Help them better their life. And that's what our job is all about. Until next time, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast saying, to your success.